Comenzamos de chão. Oxi, pô. Já se cook. يا رب. يا نزل 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 نزل.
Mas a tia não tem fone, deixa eu
Hello.
Hi, Mario. Hi, Walter.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good.
We're on the Samech Vav, 66. We're dealing with the machlokas between the Chachamim and the Tzdukim regarding whether Shavuos should be the day after Pesach or whether the Omer is started to count on the day after Pesach or the Shabbos after Pesach. So, Harei Omer Tispor Lach, you shall count Sfirat Tlui Bebezdin. So, the counting has to do with when Bezdin declares a day is. Bezdin has nothing to do when declaring Shabbos. Shabbos is Kviya V'Kaima since creation. Yet it's just Shabbos Breishis Sfiras B'chol Adam. Rav Yossi Omer Mimachras Shabbos means Mimachras Yontiv, because Shabbos is also called Yontiv is also called Shabbos. Shabbos Shabboso. Ato Mimachras Yontiv Oenu El Mimachras Shabbos Breishis. Maybe you have to start counting the Shabbos after, the real Shabbos, sometime after Pesach. Amrit. But yeah, but we don't know for sure that it means count starting on the Shabbos within Pesach. The whole year is full of Shabbosos. How do you know which Shabbos we should count? That's one statement of Rav Yossi. Nemer Shabbos L'matav, Nemer Shabbos L'malam. By the Shtei Alechem, it also talks about Shabbos. Malal and Regel, Tchilas Regel. Regarding the Shabbos of the Shtei Alechem, it's close to Shavuos, near the beginning of Shavuos. Akan Regel, Tchilas Regel. So it's close to the beginning of Pesach, not the end. Rav Shimon Elazar Omer Kosuv Echad Omer Sheishes Yamim Tachal Matzos. It says you shall eat matzahs for 6 days. What is it? You eat for 6 days or 7 days? You may not eat for 7 days from Chodesh, because you could only eat 6 days from Chodesh, because the Omer is Matir the Chodesh on the 2nd day. Then it says, Miyom Aviachem es Omerat Nefat Tispru. So Yachol Yiktzor V'Yavi, I might think that you harvest and offer the same day. The aim is such a Yitzah Yispor, and you should count whenever you want. When you first start cutting with the sickle, then you start to count. So it seems to be that you start counting Sfira after the Katsira Sa'omer, but before the Korban is offered. But I might think you could start counting right away, right after you harvest. Fine. But then you could bring the minchal sermon whenever you want. You have to bring it, you have to start counting the day that the Omer is offered. I might think that the harvesting, the counting, and the bringing of the korban all happens in the day. You can't start in the day because the count would not be complete. You have to count already from the night. Only by counting at night, because that's when the day starts. So the counting has to be done at night. And we've already learned that you have to harvest it before you count. So therefore the harvesting has to be done at night as well, like we learned yesterday. I might think that everything is done at night. The cutting, the counting, and bringing the mincha. The bias of the korban has to be in the day. You cut the omer and at night, and you count at night. And then you bring the mincha in the daytime. Amarava. Kulu islu pircha. All of these proofs have a kasha. Bar mitarti tanoi bas roy, except for the last two tanoim of the initial baraisa. Bein b'masisa kama, kamaisa bein b'masisa barsa. Less lu pircha. But though those tanoim in both the beginning baraisa and the later baraisa do not have kashas. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai brought his proof because it says Shavuos and Yomi. And he said that the Torah Shabbat said the counting has to be started on the second day of Pesach. So Rava says, Dilma Kedabaya. Dam Rabbi mitzvahs limimni yomi mitzvahs limimni shui. When you count sphere, you have to mention both the days and the weeks. And that's what the Torah is telling us. Not like Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai. Even Rav Lezer Rav Yoshua, that the Omer has to start on a special fixed day in the month. Mimai to be on Rishon Koi, Dil be on Achron Koi. Who says that it's following the first day of Yontif? Maybe it's following the last day of Yontif. Rabbi Shmuel less lupircha. But the proofs of Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Yehuda have no kashas. Even Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, Havamina Dilma Chamshin Labar Mahani Shisa. He's the one who said, well, some years it won't be 50 days, it'll be 51 or 52 or 53, depending on when the second day is. If you start counting on Shabbos after the first day of Pesach. Even Rabbi Yehuda say, remind you of Rishon Koi, the Yontif Achron Koi. Again, there's no proof when he says Machos Yontif, which Yontif it is. Rabbi Yossi Nami Chazilei Pircha. Rabbi Yossi understood that there could be a kasha of Hainu de Kamar Od. That's why he brought another proof. Gufa, Amar Abaya. Mitzvah lemimni yoimi, mitzvah lemimni shui. When we count Sfira, you mentioned the days. Hayom Asara Yomim Shehem Shavua Echad Shosha Yomim Loiver. That's from this Abaya. Rabbanan Ve'Ravashi Mani Yomi Mani Shui. Also counted days and weeks. Amemer Mani Yomi V'Lo Mani Shvua. Amemer only counted days. Amar Zechel Amigdashu. Whole thing is a Zechel Amigdash since the Yomer is not offered anymore. Mishnah. Katsrua nasnua bakupos. They harvested the barley and they put it in a box. Hiviu lazara, they brought it to the azara. Vayimuvavin also be'or. They would toast it over fire. They lekaimbo mitzvahs koli. Koli means toasting it. The Rab Meir. Chachamim oimrim, bekanim uvekochos chotinoso. They would beat them with reeds. Kidesh lo yismoich. So you wouldn't crush it. And then nasnu labu, they put it in a pipe. Vabu hayamanukav, that had holes. And they put the pipe in the fire, Kadesh or Shorlet Pekulo. So the fire would toast the whole barley. Then Shatchu Bazar, after toasting it, they spread it on the floor of the Azara. Varuach ben Hashevis, the wind would blow through it. Which dried up any moisture. Then Nasnul Rechaim Shel Grossois. They would put it in a mill and grind it. One sort of fine flour was gotten. Shumanufa b'shloshes nofa, that was sieved 13 times. Now, any more that remained could be redeemed. Ashar nifte v'nechal l'chol could be eaten by anybody after redemption. Chayiv b'chala. It was chayiv and chala. You have to give some of the dough to the Kohen. Normally, if it's owned by the Beis Hamikdash, it's potter, but here they redeemed it and it's now owned privately. But potter min meiser, because it didn't get smoothed down, and there's only chayiv meiser when you put it in a pile and smooth it. He argued and said that it's chayiv in chala and meiser. Torah aviv, which means ze aviv, the first of the barley harvest. Koli ba'esh means toasted over fire. Malamit shayu mavavin also ba'esh. K'dei l'kaim bo Mrs. Koli. The Rebbe. L'chamim oimrim ein ur loshen koli ela davar acher. Means there has to be something in between it and the fire, which is that pipe. Ein loshen koli ela davar koli. This copper pipe. Haketzad abub shel klais hayasham. There was a pipe with holes. Hayamanukav kikvara k'dei sheteya or shaletis bekulo. They would throw the pipe in the fire, which would toast the barley. Aviv kolui v'geres carmel. Ein yodem aviv kolui. Im geres kolui. Do the first ears have to be toasted, or the ground flour has to be toasted? Kishu oimer bo'ei shifsika inyan. So it's the barley before it's ground into flour. Carmel rachumal has to be soft and crushable. V'cheinu oimer. It says in Melachim, v'iishba mibal shalisha, v'yaveli ish l'kimot brata Elisha navi lechem bikurim esrim lechem so'im v'karmel b'tzkol, in their husks, v'yomer tein lam v'yochelu. Elisha said, give it so they could eat. Ba v'yotzak lanu, he poured the food, v'chalnu v'navayin, it was good. V'oimer, nis'alsa ba'ahavim, let's enjoy with love. Nisa v'nitan v'nale v'nismach v'nischate ba'ohavim. This is another. This is the Yetzer Hara following your evil inclination. V'oimer knaf v'nonim ne'alasa means no say. The bird carries its egg, ola, goes to its nest, v'nischata, and puts the egg in the nest. V'omer kiyoret haderech l'negdi. You were on the road and you opposed me. Yored is like you hurried. You're rasa, you were afraid, rasa, not to, and then you vered. This is Bilam's Chamor. Dver Bishmel Tana, Carmel, Carmole. It's like a full pillow. It's got to be ripe, like a stuffed pillow. Rabbi Kiva Machai b'chalav v'maisers. Rabbi Kiva said that even after you redeem it, you have to give challah and meiser. Rav Kana Omer Rabbi Kiva Meiruach Hegdish Ein a Poiter. When the base of Mikdash owns grain, and they smooth it at that point, just like in the private hands, it's chayiv meiser. So too in the base of Mikdash. Mosif Rav Sheshes. Moiser Shalar Soin Halalu. After they had obtained 3 saw of the flour, what did they do with the extra? Ma'oisimbo. Nifta, they redeemed it. Anybody could eat it. You had to give challah, but no meiser. Rabbi Kiva machai b'chalav v'meisers. He said it's chayv both. Amr lo, pointed miyad gizbar yochiach. When somebody redeems grain from the base of Mikdash, Chachamim say chayv b'chalav potem na meisers. So that should apply to any extra of the oimer. The Yemisa, if it's correct the way Rav Kahana said, the Meiruach Hegdish ain't a pointer, that smoothing grain, even the base of Mikdash, he would still be chayav meiser. So why wouldn't the Chacham agree with Rabbi Kiva? My Carmelay. He's there. He seems to be saying the same thing. Vod Eser Rav Kahana bar Tachil Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana asked the Kasha, Rabbi Kiva Machai B'chalav v'meisers. If he shlon in numos, elatzarach le'ed. The money that belonged to the base of Mikdash they only needed that last isaron. Any remainder, it never became the property of base of Mikdash. So certainly needed meiser. Rav Yochanan Talmud Arachu b'fiush Rabbi Kiva. This was something Rabbi Kiva taught all the time. That the money that was used for the base of Mikdash was only for that one isaron. Any extra really didn't belong to the base of Mikdash. So it's a chiyuv and meiser. Amar Rava. Pshitali d'merech hegdish poiter. Base of Mikdash, grain that is smooth, it's potter from meiser. The only reason Rabbi Kiva said over there that meiser had to be given is because the part that the base of Mikdash owns is only the final isaron. But really, Meiruach Hegdish B'Hama Potter. If a private individual smooths his grain, it's chayiv meiser, but not the base of Mikdash. Now, what about if a non-Jew does the smoothing? Meiruach Harvik, that's a machlokes tanoim tanoi, the Tanya. Tormi mishal Yisrael ashal Yisrael. One person can give grain on behalf of his fellow Jew to pater him from truma. Same thing, grain from a goy can be used to pater the truma of the goy. Mishal kusim shal kusim. Mishal kol al shal kol. If a Jew separates grain from any of these things, either another Jew or a kuti or a goy, it also works. They Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon Oimrim, Tormi Mishal Yisrael, Shal Yisrael. You could take truma from a Jew for another Jew. But you can't cross-pollinate. You can't take truma from the produce of a Jew to pater the goy or the kusi. You can't take grain from the goy or the kusi to pater from the Jew. Because the first mandamer holds that if a non-Jew or a kusi does the smoothing, it's pater from meiser. You can't take truma from something that's pater. But the other Tanoim hold that smoothing out does not pater you from meiser. So there's no difference whether it's taken from a Jew or a non-Jew. Okay, tomorrow we'll learn at 4 o'clock.
כן? לא היה.
Okay,